Hi, my name is Aryansai and welcome to the demo of MongoDB Sharding for my personal project. What is sharding? Sharding is a process of horizontally splitting the data in the database. The components involved in a sharded cluster are Mongoose. Mongoose is known as a query router, which acts as an interface between the user queries and my shard clusters. Shards is the individual location where our horizontal splits of data will be stored. And configuration server stores the metadata of my mongoose and my shards. This is the architecture that I have used to deploy my sharding database. My mongoose instance, this is my configuration server cluster. These are my shard clusters. So my mongoose runs on port 27017. My config server cluster runs on port 27019, and my shard cluster works on port 27018. I have deployed my shard cluster in a private subnet of my Oregon VPC because I don't want them to publicly expose my data. So architecture will be comprises of launching a configuration cluster, configuration of 2 shard clusters, and so this is my shard1 cluster. As you can see, I've named them. This is my shard2 cluster. This is my configuration server cluster. This is my Mongoose query router, and let us check the security group. I've created a security called MongoDB Shard Cluster SD, and you can see the security group involved for the architecture. Launch of a Mongoose instance. Let us see how will we do it. So to launch our configuration cluster, I'll employ these steps, as these steps are readily available on my GitHub page. You can go through that. So I'll initiate the configuration of my config server cluster, and my config server cluster is created. Similarly, I follow the steps to create my shard clusters, and I do rs.initiate for my shard set 1. This will be my replication set name for my shard 1, and I follow the steps to create cluster of my shard 2, and this is the name of my replication set name for my shard 2. And I go into my mongoose instance, and I edit my config file as follows. I add config db. So this tells my mongoose instance that this is the config server cluster that is involved, and I edit my config file. As you can see, I have edited, and I run the mongoose instance against the new config file. And so to tell which shards to use, we use the command ss.add shard in my mongoose instance. To check what are the shards involved, we can use this command db.admin command list shards. So I've already SSH into my instances. This is my shard 1. This is my shard 2 cluster. This is my mongoose instance, and this is my config server cluster. So let us go into our mongoose instance. So I enter into my mongoose instance. I'll check what are the shards are involved. As you can see, my creator shard1 replication set and shard set replication set are the available shards, and we'll create a new database, and we'll tell that this enable sharding on that database. We'll follow the steps. So I've created a database. I told my mongoose instance to enable sharding on my database test, and I told my my mongoose instance that name.first, the collection I have here. So this will be my partition key for my shards. So I'll copy this data, as this is available from Professor Paul's repository. So I entered the data. So all the 7 items have been entered, and let's see whether they are sharded or not. So this is my shard 1 cluster, and this is my shard 2 cluster. And let us go into the Mongo shell. So I enter into the Mongo shell. I'll check the status of my cluster, rs.status, and I see that everything is up and running. So I use database test. So I try to find the data in my bias collection. So it seems data is here since in entered db.bias.find. So here you can see so this shard cluster has 5 entries, whereas we entered 7 entries. Let us see whether the other 2 entries have entered into our shard 2 cluster. So this is my shard 2 cluster. I enter into my Mongo shell. Cluster is up. Let us use the database test. So db.bias.find. So it has the data. Let's check how many data it has, how much data it has. So it has 2 entries. So as you can see, we entered 7 entries, and we have 5 entries in our shard 1 and 2 entries in our shard 2. Let us check whether this data has been replicated or not. So I go into node 2 of my shard 1 cluster. So this is one as secondary. I do rs.slave OK because since it's a secondary, so I have to read the stale data. Use test db.bias.find. So yeah, so data is replicated. I check the count. The count is 5. Same. Use test db.bias.find. So data is there. So 5. So our data is sharded as well as replicated. Let us check our shard 2 cluster. I enter. Since this so my data is replicated and my data is sharded as well as replicated. So my data is there. So my data is actually sharded and as well as replicated across my shard instances. Thank you. Hi, my name is Aryan Zai, and this is the demo for my WoW factor. So in this demo, I'm going to show how to do VPC pairing. So if we have instances which are launched in 2 different VPCs, then we cannot form a cluster because instances in launched 2 different VPCs cannot communicate. But with the help of VPC pairing, we can create a cluster so that they will be able to communicate. Let us see how. So these are my React cluster which are in 2 different VPCs. Let us check. So one of my cluster is in different VPC. So one of my cluster is in different VPC, and one of my other cluster is in different VPC. So I have made a VPC pairing connection between the 2 VPCs, where the requester VPC is the VPC1 and the acceptor VPC is VPC2. So to form a VPC pairing, there should be an acceptor requester pair. So after pairing the VPCs, we need to update the route tables for our subnets. Let us check. So here I have updated the table of my subnet of VPC2 where I have given the CIDR block of the other VPC. Similarly, I have given the CIDR block of the other VPC2. Let us check are they forming a cluster or not. So I have already SSH into my instances, and here we can see our cluster is up and running in different VPCs also. We try to ping all of them. So we are able to ping all of the React instances. Let us try to enter a data. So I'm trying to enter a data in the buckets capital. So I'm able to enter the data. Let us query the data from all the other nodes which are in different VPCs. So here we are able to query the data from all the instances across the VPCs. So we are able to replicate the data in the instances across the VPC. So this provides a much higher availability. Thank you.